I'm Dr. Sari, Department of Political Science, and today I'm going to talk about relation of political science with other allied sciences. And we start with relationship of political science with sociology and law. Now, we all know that human knowledge may be divided into two broad categories: natural science and social sciences. Natural sciences deal with physical world and social sciences deal with human beings, their collective social life, their social behavior, organizations and activities. And man is a social animal. He lives in society. And there are many dimensions to his social life: economic, political, psychological, historical, sociological, beg your pardon, etc. Now, this multidimensional man, his associations and social relationships constitute the subject matter of all social sciences. As all of these dimensions, uh, all of these dimensions of man are interconnected in one or the other way. So also are the various social sciences. Many problems are a common concern of all the social sciences, which view them from their own standpoint. Now, politics is a social science concerned with the political aspect of social man, and its subject matter is a political institution, processes, activities, behavior, stability, change. Now, it is related with other social sciences such as economics, history, psychology, uh, ethics, sociology, etc. Now, during the past couple of decades, a new approach has developed in the study of social sciences, and this is known as interdisciplinary approach. It means that researchers and students of one specialized social science should work in coordination with the researchers and students of other specialized social sciences. And now it is clear by far that many social sciences cannot be objectively understood in totality, while various aspects of which are interconnected and interdependent. Now, this totality cannot be studied by separating one aspect from the rest. The need for close fertilization is strongly felt in the social sciences, and that is the reason why David Easton writes saying that social sciences has stimulated a movement towards reintegration of our compartmentalized knowledge, which should go a long way towards remedying these defects. However, it does not mean that again we are going to have one social science by reuniting all these sciences into one. Easton writes further that even though the future must witness an increase in the rate of cross fertilization and the degree of cooperation among the social sciences, there are a few realists who envision the united fusion of all disciplines specialized in one body of knowledge. Further, Easton maintains that specialization among the social sciences was a matter of accident. Earlier, he writes, the purely physical need for a division of a labor helps to account for the distinction among the social sciences. So, social sciences have grown up separate. They have grown up as a separate discipline because the only because of this historical necessity. So, the actual allocation of subject matter to various disciplines is simply a matter of accident. However, he further agrees that apart from being merely an accident, allocation of subject matter to the various social sciences has a rationality of its own, because distinctions in social knowledge have existed from the beginning of human inquiry into society. However, during the past 100 years or so, specialization has served mainly to divide the burden of research and to study deeply the key issues in which society has shown a vital interest. Now, in view of the development during the 20th century, a need of interdisciplinary study is strongly felt. All social sciences have a common body of theory or general theory, and the parts of different social sciences cross and run parallel at same points. In spite of the fact that each discipline is busy in formulating their own boundaries, scope, methods, and concepts, the urge for mutual cooperation and exchange is always there, as it is not possible to study any specific discipline without mutual exchange with other disciplines. This approach to the study of society is known as interdisciplinary approach in social sciences, and during this century and the previous one, the shortcomings of separation of social scientists into watertight compartments became manifest. So political life cannot be seen in isolation from other aspects of social life of man. Now, increase in the sphere of state brought almost all the social affairs under the control or influence of politics. The commonness of object of study in social sciences, namely man in society, created a need for journal theory. And during the period between two world wars, from 1990 to 1939, fact gathering, unregulated by theory hyper-factualism, reached its peak in social sciences as a whole, and this hyper-factualism, collection of facts, that is, without any theoretical orientation, came upon sharp criticism. Now, empirical theory in politics developed after World War II because of the result of this very fact collection. And political scientists concentrated their attention on the study of political behavior and political attitudes. So, the application of scientific methods to the study of political phenomena and behavioralism, which came out of this very method of applying scientific method to study human behavior, it emphasized the need for interdisciplinary need in politics. So, instead of giving importance to the study of institutions like state, government, constitutions, organs of government, etc., the study of politics, emphasis is being laid on the political process, political behavior, voters, leaders, groups, associations, and their study. So, as human behavior have many motivations, these socio-economic, psychological, and moral-based motivations, it cannot be studied under one discipline in isolation from social sciences. So, theoretical in the study of political phenomena in the form of empirical theory, it almost opened a door for new studies and new theories to be evolved, and more meaningful relationship between social science and political science was possible. Now, with the growth of empirical theory, political sciences began to spread out new and deep roots into other social sciences. And as a result, political science borrowed many theories, methods, techniques, concepts from other social sciences. New theories are adopted from other disciplines, like decision-making theory was taken from organizational field, the structural functional approach from sociology and anthropology, action theory from sociology, and system analysis from communication science. New concepts like political culture, political socialization, political communication, political development, etc., are also being adopted, and emphasis in politics is on the study of community power structure. This change of emphasis and change in the theoretical framework has caused the development of interdisciplinary study in politics. The so-called behavioral revolution, based on the empirical theory in American science of politics, has given importance to this type of study of politics. So politics is a part, and that too an integral part of social system, and there goes a mutual input-output between political and social system. So there may be some artificial boundaries of political system, but it is affected by other systems of society. So in order to understand political system, it is also necessary to understand other systems of society. Thus, this interdisciplinary approach and the discipline of politics can be objectively studied together with other social discipline. Now, with that, we start comparing, contrasting, and finding the commonality between different disciplines, politics and others. So, let's start with politics and its relation with sociology. So, sociology is the root of all the social sciences, and it is a systematic study of social groups, institutions, organizations, ideas, and life. It's a journal and comprehensive science which studies all the aspect of collective human life or the life of man in society. So, sociology possesses an all inclusive character and studies all the aspects and fundamentals of society. The father of sociology, Augustus Comte, emphasized that all aspects of society should be studied under one social science, namely sociology. He opposed the division of study of society into several social sciences. He regarded sociology to be study of social sciences, organizations, their interactions, their origin, evolution. So sociology studies all the aspects of society in a general way. Sociology studies political structures, processes in a general way, while politics studies these in a more specialized way. So sociology deals with man in totality of his social relation, and politics deals with man and his political relations. A subject matter of sociology is man as a social being, whereas political studies man as a citizen. So, if you see the influence of sociology and politics, we find that politics and sociology are related similarly as state and society are. State is a special institution of society which serves the interests of the whole community or a class of society. The state emerges as a definite stage of social development, and in order to understand the state, social revolution, and in general, We must understand these concepts. Without understanding the general laws of social development, politics cannot be studied objectively. And Giddings remarked very correctly that to teach the theory of state to man who have not the state, who have not studied the state and learned the thermodynamics of first to man principle, who have a society, not he's, I mean, it's Newtonian astronomy of law of motion to somebody who is not schooled in sciences. So political organizations and processes are influenced by the social circumstances. So politics is influenced by social stratification and various non-political issues. It has a bearing on politics. For example, caste in India, race in America, religion in Pakistan and Iran, color in Africa, and class division in all the societies influence politics. If one has to compare the Indian and British parliamentary democracy, then the social structure of both these countries should be compared. Similar political institutions function differently in different societies. Why? The question can be answered by sociological studies of these societies. Social forces operating in a society influence the political process. Now, if we see the influence of politics on sociology, so not only does sociology influence politics, but politics also influences the social system. Politics and the state interfere in all aspects of society. Social forces and customs which become disruptive are controlled by politics. Caste system and dowry are such examples. The iniquitous social system of dowry regards as unwed girl of marriageable age as ritualistically a taboo. So the pernicious effect of this social bias is that an inadequate dowered woman prefers to commit suicide rather than suffer the cruelty perpetrated on her by the in-laws. Politics can play a major role in influencing public opinion against this evil system and getting it banned statutorily. All the issues of society are connected in one way or the other with politics. So, state is an institution which towers above all other associations and coordinates their activities. Politics paves the way for a peaceful social change in society and tries to maintain social integrity, cooperation, and equilibrium. In a class divided society, it is politics and the state alone which can maintain a functional unity and order. Coordinating all the activities and relations, the state maintains coordination under which all its subjects may live. As Aristotle said, a perfect and self sufficing life. And Burns writes, the state is the final arbiter or umpire of the social process, controlling and directing the conflicts and struggles of lesser social groups and interests. Without control and direction by the state, anarchy and chaos would result. All the subsystems of a society are influenced by the political system, and the political control is the most important among all the social controls. Now, there is a need of an interdisciplinary study and approach, and that is what we practiced after Second World War. So, contemporary students and researchers in politics, they have borrowed methods, research techniques, and survey methods from sociology. So, the main problem of sociology has been adopted by politics, that is social equilibrium, cooperation, then piecemeal social engineering, problem of social control, conflict and its resolution, and the process of social change altogether. So during the 19th century, traditional political theory tried to analyze the origin and evolution of state and other institutions from the sociological studies. Writers like Sir Henry Mann in his Ancient Law, J.J. Beckford, The Mother Right, 1860, and then Morgan, Ancient Society, 1860, I beg your pardon, 1877, emphasized the sociological evolution of the state and political institutions. Morgan elaborated the theory of political evolution on the basis of sociological study. Similarly, Angels, in his masterpiece, The Origin of the Family, Private Property in the State, 1884, he gave a scientific sociological evolution of the state. In the 20th century, Bentley gave a beautiful sociological conception of the process of government, which rests upon the fundamental hypothesis, amply supported by fact, and the state is not made up of individuals but a group with definite interest, chief among which is the economic interest. So Bentley maintained that the essential process of government is the adjustment of conflict between the interest groups. Similarly, sociological studies of political parties and various political institutions emerged during that period. The prominent sociologist McIver made an important contribution to politics by analyzing the nature of state from a sociologist's point of view in his book, The Modern State, 1926. The theory of plural elites natural and evolution, nature and evolution of political elite, and also founded on sociological basis. So interdisciplinary studies of politics and sociology got a tremendous flip with the emergence of behavioralism in political studies. So, in the name of making politics a science, supporters of this view imported from sociology concepts like political socialization, political culture, political system, political development, political recruitment, political communication, etc., etc. So, these approaches like structural, functional, system approach, various orientations and methods, I mean, these all have been imported from sociology. So, study of political behavior is less political and more a sociological study. And political behavior is influenced by sociological factors. And in order to understand political behavior, it is important to see political socialization process and political culture in a society. So, behavioralism emphasizes an interdisciplinary study of politics and sociology. A new branch of study of politics, named political sociology, is fast gaining prominence, and in fact, it's a separate discipline, in fact. So, it is said that politics has become a socialized and society has become politicized in the present times to such an extent that politics cannot be studied in isolation from sociology. So, the supporters of contemporary interdisciplinary approach have discouraged historical and valuational, that is, ethical based considerations, but strongly recommended sociological and psychological considerations in the study of politics. Studies in voting behavior, bureaucracy, behavior of political leaders, etc., are based on the interdisciplinary study of politics and sociology. Now, if you see the difference between politics and sociology after having discussed about their influences on each other and how much they have borrowed from each other, we find that sociology is much wider in scope because it studies all the dimensions of man and society, whereas politics is narrower in scope. Then sociology studies the political aspect of social life in general way, whereas political studies or politics studies the political aspect of man and society deeply. Society is concerned with organized and unorganized groups, whereas politics is concerned mainly with organized political and pressure groups. Sociology is much older than politics and analyzes the evolution of society, social institutions, and state, whereas the subject matter of sociology is a social man and that of a politics is a political man. Now, with that, we come to see the relationship of politics with the next allied uh, subject, and that is law. So let's see the relation between law and political science. So law and political science are relatively intertwined as they both form the core aspect of each other. Now, basically, law sets upon the government and regulates their actions, while the government, which is the institution of political science, makes the law in a society. This is therefore this therefore connotes, it means that both law and political science are deeply rooted in each other. Due to this close relationship and more which exists between both of them, this article, especially what I'm presenting today, is going to talk about the close relationship that exists between law and politics. So, at the very outset, let's try to understand what's law. So, law is basically a body of rules, regulations, conventions, treaties, and other legislations which are in force in a state. So, formally, state can be defined as a complex system of formal rules, principles, and processes regulated as necessary and enforced in an institutionalized manner based on the need to regulate social relations and actions of members of the society so as to ascertain and attain certain social goals. Law primarily operates to enforce law and law and order in the state, amicably resolve settle disputes in the state, protect the rights of citizens in the state, and to regulate the activities of government of a state. And political science, on the other hand, is a social science which deals with the study and scientific analysis of various systems of government, political action, political institutions, political thought, political behavior. So, political science primarily focuses on the theory and practice of politics, the functionality of government at the local, state, and national, international levels. So, political science therefore studies the state, institutions of the state, and politics at all levels. So, political science functions to provide answers to questions about political thought, critical thinking, analysis, understanding, and applying political methodologies. So, political science equally equips one with understanding of political ideas, policies, political behavior, institutions, and ideologies. Ultimately, political science functions to explain human behavior from the political point of view. So if we compare both, we find that the both law and political science primarily deal with state and man. This means that political science studies man as a citizen, the political activities exhibited by man in a state, and it deals with the institutions of government of a state. So law, in the same vein, it seeks to regulate the state and to enforce peace and order in the state. It also sets policies of the state and regulates the lives and transactions of man in the state as it seeks to make man a law-abiding citizen and to protect the rights of man. Now, from the foregoing discussion so far, we can conclusively say that both law and political science deal with man, the state, and the relation of man in the state. So both political science and law serve as a mean to the end of each other, as political science deal with the various institutions of government and law-making processes. Alternatively, political science seeks to use political institutions to make laws in a state, while law on the same hand enforces these laws made, and law requires the government agencies to achieve its end product of enforcing law, maintaining law and order in the society. Now, we can see both depend on each other. So the source of law are dependent on political science, as we know that these various sources of law is in state itself. So these sources include legislation, customs, conventions, treaties, received laws, and case laws. So these sources of law emanates from political concepts, which political science deals with. So these political concepts includes justice, rights, equality, legitimacy, liberty, sovereignty. Now these political concepts form the basis of law in a society. So therefore the source of law are dependent on political concepts, ideologies, and ideas, which are key components of political science. And both political science and law are never static, rather they are dynamic. This means that political science is not static and law too is dynamic, as it is ever changing depending on the political philosophy of the state. So both law and political science are deeply rooted in philosophy. In these two areas, various definitions, views, and postulations in each are made by philosophers. In law, the activities of philosophers is largely termed legal jurisprudence, while in political science it is termed political philosophy. So political science deals with political science deals with the study of government institutions and the relationship between government and the formulation of law. Law on its part is also part of politics. So therefore, both law and political science are closely related to each other, as they both form the core part of each other. Then further we see political science helps us to understand, and law on its part helps us to appreciate the functionality of political institutions and agencies, and how both the political institutions in state and law work harmoniously to maximize the welfare of the citizens. Thus, we can say that law and politics share a close relationship, as they both work hand in glove to maximize the welfare of citizens. So, both the study of political science and law are closely interwoven, as some aspects of political science are largely concerned with lawmaking process, the implementation of law in a state. Similarly, some aspects of law is studied in politics. To summarize, we say like both law and political science functions, they improve social relations, maximize social and welfare measures, and maintain law and order in society. Political science, for one, deals with political institutions, which makes law and enforces this law in state, and law rightly establishes political organizations and empowers political institutions to act rightly in its bid to maximize the welfare of citizens of a society. Political science and jurisprudence, however, differ in their approaches. Jurisprudence or law, for instance, deal with persons and situations in general or even abstract forms. The disciplines of both law and politics are closely related, and they directly impact every aspect of everyday life. It follows a normative approach, while political science is also interested in descriptive analysis, as it is closely related to the living political realities. So law may well flourish as an exercise in logic rather than in life. Politics, however, seeks to bridge the gap between abstract legalism and concrete realities of life. So in spite of all their differences in approaches, legislations, and judicial pronouncements are helpful in understanding the nature of law and the growth of convention, which a political scientist can hardly afford to disregard. Then finally, political science, as a discussion in this chapter points out, is related to a number of disciplines That is two so far we have discussed. It's in some concepts. It derived certain terms from other social sciences. For a proper understanding of political phenomena, one has to rely upon a number of sister disciplines such as economics, sociology, etc. So the current trend towards system analysis of political life reflects the need for broad-based understanding of politics. After all, social sciences have branched out for the sake of specialization. But political reality is a part of larger social reality that has to be understood and stepping out of the narrow disciplinary boundaries. Thank you.